Call to order. Welcome to Aurora's Committee of Adjustment. Committee of Adjustment meeting. This time is 7:03 p.m. on Thursday, July 13th, 2023. I would like to call this Committee of Adjustment meeting to order. Land acknowledgement. The town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands on which we live and work are the traditional and treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island, as well as many other nations whose presence here continues to this day. As the closest First Nation community to Aurora, we recognize the special relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands. And as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas and Chippewas, recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaties of 1923. A shared understanding of the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and how collective past brought us to where we are today will help us work together into a better future. I will start by introducing the committee members and staff. I am the committee chair. My name is David Muhango, and the remaining members are as follows. Chris, we don't have Chris at this time. We have Michael, no, sorry. We've got Chris Posneri, if you do raise your hand, and you have got Julian Young. We don't have Michael Viscotti and also Jenny Stevenson, but we have the quorum. The Secretary Treasurer is Peter Fan, and the planner tonight is Adam Robb. This public meeting is being audio and video recorded. It is also being conducted virtually and through the use of Zoom technology. Your name, address, comments, and any other personal information are being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including on the town's website. Questions about this correction should be directed to the town clerk. Please be advised that the reports being considered tonight are available on the Town of Aurora website and through staff at the town's planning department. Should you wish to receive notification of any of the decisions of tonight's meeting, please complete the appropriate form available through the town staff. Applicants and agents will automatically be notified. For each application that will be considered tonight, the following process will occur. I will briefly outline the purpose of the applications, and then the applicant or agent will then be given the opportunity to make a presentation. However, one is not required. It is the applicant's decision whether they wish to speak or let the application proceed on the merits of the information as received. Presentations and deputations are limited to 5 minutes as much as possible. Following any initial comments from the applicant, I will invite members of the public who have interest in the application to come forward and address the committee. Those members of the public who wish to speak must clearly state their name and address and must provide this information to the Secretary Treasurer. Should you wish to obtain a copy of the notice of decision, please complete the appropriate form available through the Secretary Treasurer. Members of the public are reminded that text comments are not permitted during the meeting and that they will not be noted in any manner or at any time. Each individual may speak only once on an issue, and once the discussion has commenced in respect of a motion, no further presentations shall be made. If you require any technical assistance with your presentation, please let me know. If you wish to speak and are currently following this meeting on the YouTube feed, you will need to turn this feed off and join the live meeting, as there is a slight lag between the YouTube and the live feed. Please ensure that all questions and all comments are directed through me as the chair, and if irrelevant, I will request the appropriate person to respond. It should be noted that the applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to the questions or comments should the committee feel that is appropriate. Tonight's meeting will now commence. Before we start, just to recognize that another member has just joined us, Michael Visconti. If you could raise up your hand. Yeah, thank you. So the first item is approval of agenda. So I'll ask them for a mover and the seconder from the committee members. Julian.
Yes, I move to approve the agenda.
Any seconder? Christopher? All in favor? That's approved. Declaration of interest to the members. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? No, so I see no member having a conflict of interest. Thank you. Confirmation of past minutes. I will require a mover and a seconder to move that the past minutes be approved or confirmed. I'm looking for a mover for the minutes of past meeting. Michael, a seconder.
I move it.
Any seconder? Christopher is the second. All in favor? Thank you. So the hearing of the applications. So the first application is MV-2023-23 belonging to Coast Bin at 219 Old Young Street. The application is actually being defined by the town to provide transportation study. So do we have a mover for this application to be deferred? Julian is moving. Any seconder? Michael is seconding. All in favor of the deferment of this application? The application is deferred. The second application is a minor variance application. It's a application MV-2023-2027 for 2493862 Ontario Limited at 83 Richardson Drive. The applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the construction of a new two-story detached dwelling. The following relief is being requested. Section 24.497.3.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard setback of 3.0 meters beyond the main rear wall of the adjacent dwellings. The applicant is proposing a two-story detached dwelling with interior side yard setbacks of 1.5 meters on both the east and west properties. The applicant's stated reasons for not complying with the zoning bylaw. As stated on the application form, if we follow the bylaw, the building shape will be very unusual and also not function well for the interior and exterior. The bylaw regulations affect the layout, aesthetics, and function of the building. To help with the reasonable design of the home, we ask for the minor variance, which makes a positive contribution to the usability and environment of abutting properties. Public correspondence. There's one opposition for this application and no supporting letters. In conclusion, the town staff are of the opinion that the requested variances, the equality variance meets the four tests of the Planning Act for granting minor variance. And the staff recommend approval of the requested variance subject to conditions. So do we have the owner or applicant here? I can see, I think we have Frankie He and Rian Xiang. Can you maybe raise your hands to confirm that? Okay. So do you have, do you want to make a presentation to the committee, or you maybe have comments or something to say about this application? We cannot hear you.
I think our application is our request is minor.
Can you raise up your?
I think our, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I think our application, our request is minor. Is we didn't request for more floor areas and building height and setback at the front and the backyard. It's just the back portion of the building because our building deep is deeper than the neighbor. That's the only request we just make.
Can you, do you mind if you speak up?
Wall.
Huh?
We just need to have a straight side wall. So that's the only reason we ask for this variance. I think we are not asking for a lot of big variance. So I think
we cannot hear you. Can you speak? We cannot hear what you're saying.
I think our request is minor. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. So your name is Qiang?
Chuan Liang.
Okay, and can you let us know your address?
My address is 106 Thomas Foster Street, Markham, L62W6.
Okay, thank you. And Frank, can you also let us know your address, please?
Yes, my address is 205-206 Ketland Street, Markham. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly. Yes, yes. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Can I make a comment? Do we have time
yes,
for
please.
that?
Yes, please.
Okay, So we had the chance to review the staff report before the meeting. We appreciate having the opportunity to go over the details and recommendations made by the staff. We believe that recommendations were based on facts, of course, the existing zoning bylaws. As Ms. Liang pointed out, the request for minor variance is indeed a very small one. And that there is no negative impact to the access, to the entrance, to the privacy or sunlight of the abutting dwellings. And it's clearly indicated in the report that there is 3.5 meters to the west side and 5.35 meters to the east side of the proposed construction site. So there won't be any problems with, with privacy, sunlight, access. And in fact, the design has taken into consideration that, on the portion of variance requested, there is no window or entrance designed. So that's taken care of. And yeah, it's a very small variance, and we're only asking for that, nothing else. It won't have any negative impact on the environment, on the community, on the compatibility, etc. So we kindly ask the committee to consider that. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any members of the public who are interested to in this application and would like to speak or ask questions? I have in my list here Chris Ballard. I think I still could recognize him, but Chris, if you could let us know officially your name and address, please.
Sure. My name is Chris Ballard. I'm here representing the Regency Acres Ratepayer Association, which includes both Regency Acres and Golf Glen. I live on at 53 Fairway Drive in Aurora.
Okay, thank you, Chris. So do you have any comments or any questions or something to say?
Well, first I want to make sure that members of the Committee of Adjustment were provided with our letter to the committee. It should be in your package. It was delivered in time to.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have
it. So good.
Yeah,
so what I don't want to do is spend too much time going over the concerns. I have some highlights that we have. Technically, this is considered a minor variance application, but to the residents of this street and the broader community, this is not minor in nature. And so we have written to the committee to signify our strong objection to this minor variance application. The town of Aurora a few years ago spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, taxpayers' dollars, to develop the Aurora Stable Neighborhoods planning bylaw. And it was done to ensure that any infill development fulfilled the official plan goals of compatibility with existing homes and the preservation of the character of these committees. Council enacted these bylaws after working with a number of community groups around the town. We know that our members continue to have concerns about the nature of infill development that's continuing in our neighborhoods, particularly in relation to setbacks, height, and gross floor area. We have, as our letter outlines, a few concerns about the staff report. One being that the surrounding neighborhood is generally characterized by 1- and 2-story dwellings with instances of infill development. This is wrong, absolutely wrong. There is no infill development on Richardson. 83 Richardson would be the first. The only 2-story dwellings on Richardson there are 4 two-story semi-detached dwellings, all located east of Lee Gate, and 1 two-story semi at the corner of Lee Gate and Richardson. And the homes are very modest in size. They're identical in overall size and height. So the applicant's property is located considerably west of Lee Gate. The homes west of Lee Gate are small bungalows with a small back split levels. They're typical of the Regency Acres homes and have an estimated gross floor area of about 1,200 square feet. So that's our concerns. Those are our 3 big concerns with the report. That's not the neighborhood we live in, isn't the one that's described in this report. The applicant is requesting a reduction in the minimum interior side yard setback from 3 meters to 1.5 meters. And we categorically reject that. It reduces the setback by half, or reducing the set by half is a very significant change in our view. The staff report actually provides the clear rationale for the council's decision to establish the 3-meter interior side yard setback. I'm not going to read the paragraph to you that comes from the town's bylaw, but you can read it in the letter. This new dwelling will be 3.5 times the size and 2.5 times the height of the adjacent homes. And the purpose of the interior side setback rule is to ensure that infill development does not unduly encroach on the light and privacy of the neighboring backyards. And we cannot see how those 2 essential elements will not be impinged on. This proposed new dwelling will also extend further into the backyard than adjacent dwellings. So very quickly and in conclusion, the developer is trying to push the envelope in a community, an established, stable neighborhood where we have a town bylaw that was paid for, developed and paid for by the taxpayers of Aurora. I would encourage the Committee of Adjustment to follow that stable neighborhoods plan and reject this application. For us, the bottom line is that each minor variance application that's approved in the Aurora stable neighborhoods, it sets a new precedent that emboldens applicants, the next applicant, to ask for even more. And over time, the hard fought for zoning bylaws in stable neighborhoods become largely irrelevant. So we believe it is time for this committee to draw that proverbial line in the sand and say we have a stable neighborhoods legislation and we're going to stand behind it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barad. Do we have any other member of public who maybe I may not know who would like to speak?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no other public delegations for this application.
Okay, thank you. So before I ask the members to maybe ask some questions, maybe I'll ask town staff, prime staff, Adam. Mr. Barad has raised some few concerns about the report. And I'm wondering if maybe you have the chance to maybe clarify some things.
Yes, certainly. And through you, Mr. Chair. One comment made was about the surrounding neighborhood. The report does say that the surrounding neighborhood, not just Richardson Street, is generally characterized by those 1- and 2-story dwellings with instances of infill development. That is true for the surrounding neighborhood. There are other examples of minor variance approvals that actually even go further than the request before us today. Some examples include 14 Corbett, 89 Richardson on the same street, and 5 Child Drive. And again, if there are any more specific questions about the staff report, I can certainly answer those as well, but that would be my introductory remarks.
Okay. Now open to the committee members. If you have any questions or comments, please raise up your hand. And then now, Michael Visconti.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have a question for the applicant, Mr. He. have you gotten any letters of support from neighboring property owners to support your application? Did you speak to the neighbors to go over your proposal and what your proposal is? And have you had a discussion with neighbors, at least surrounding your property, of what your proposal was about? And did you get any feedback?
To answer your question, Michael, we did post a sign outside the property. We were mindful if there were, residents in the area who would like to share their thoughts, opinions with us. Unfortunately, we did not receive any feedback from anyone in the neighborhood. To answer your question, we do not have any letter of support from the residents in the neighborhood.
And my other question is, are you planning to live in this home that you're going to build? Is this for your family's use in the future?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Any other member of the committee? So folks, you are only a few of us. So if you have a comment, a question, raise a hand. If you don't have anything, still raise a hand and say whether you don't have any comments or you don't have any questions. Hi, Christopher.
Through you, Mr. Chair, no comments or questions from me.
Thank you. Julian?
No further questions from me either.
Okay. I also don't have any questions. The application's clear, the report, and I also read the comments from the opposition leader and so on. So since we have no any further comments or questions, I would ask for a motion from one of the members of the committee. Michael?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I read the staff report. I drove through the neighborhood. It seems that, Mr. Ballard's viewpoint is understandable. The majority of the neighborhood is one-story detached bungalows of modest square footage, which, it's difficult to push the envelope here on new infill development. It always is. But we've got to be realistic in the way things are going in our society, and what families need nowadays. And that is that they want a bigger home. They want to locate in the town of Aurora, which is very, appealing to people. And throughout this area, I understand that zoning, the stable neighborhoods issue and so forth, and it was brought in by the town of Aurora at a certain time. But, everything's moving fast, right? Nearby, you're going to have condos, like being built. So, as much as I appreciate the comments of Mr. Ballard, and the neighborhood, wanting to retain its small type of housing unit. And then his comment was that it sets a precedent. What I think this committee has shown in the past is that we take every application on its own merits. And having read the staff report, I feel it's the variance is minor, and I'm going to move approval.
Okay, so do we have a seconder for the motion? Christopher, you are seconding the motion?
Seconding the motion. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So all in favor of the motion?
Can you clarify what the motion is? Sorry.
Okay, the motion is proposing
Well,
approval.
let me, through you, Mr. Chair,
Is proposing approval of this application.
I'm moving to approve the application along with the conditions as stated in the report.
Yes, yes, yes. So again, Christopher, you seconded the motion, just to confirm?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm asking, all in favor of the motion? So the motion is approved. Motion is carried. Thank you very much. So Mr. He and Lian Chang, your minor variance application has been approved with the conditions which are in the staff support. There are about 9 conditions there. Okay.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thank you. Good night.
Have a good night.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just to jump in, I didn't see Julian vote. Can you please confirm if Julian is voting to
Yes,
deny the
Julian
motion?
voted. He actually raised his hand.
Yes,
Oh,
I
sorry
did
about
vote.
He support.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, so folks, just to know, we are a few of us, and you know, we need to finish this quickly. You know, when there's a motion or something, please raise up your hand. If you have questions or you don't have questions, still raise your hand and let's know, rather than just keeping quiet and me asking. Thank you. Okay. The next application is a minor variance application at 28 Staple Chase Avenue. It's minor variance number MV-2023-24. The applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the construction of a 1-story detached accessory pool house within the significant woodland natural heritage feature of the subject property. The following relief is being requested. Section 14.1.2 and 2 small 2 of the zoning bylaw states that no development or site alteration shall occur on that portion of said lot that is within a key natural heritage feature without an amendment to or relief from the zoning bylaw. The applicant is proposing to construct an accessory pool house within the woodland feature. The second variance, section 14.1.8.1 of the zoning bylaw states that no development or site alteration shall occur on that portion of the lot that contains a significant woodland without amendment to or relief from the zoning bylaw. The applicant is specifically proposing to construct an accessory pool house building. Applicants stated reasons for not complying with the zoning bylaw. As stated on the application form, it is expressly stated in zoning that relief from zoning bylaw is required for any development within the area. Public correspondence. There were no opposition letters or supporting letters for this application. In conclusion, planning staff are of the opinion that the requested variance meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act for granting of minor variance. Staff recommend approval of the requested variance subject to conditions outlined in the report, in the staff's report. Do we have an applicant or agent who wants to speak to this application? I have one here, David Ikubo. Can you just confirm your name and the address, please?
Good evening. My name is David Iqbal. I'm the architect for this project. My address is 14961 Youngest Street, Aurora, Unit B. And I'm here to represent the owner.
Okay. Members of committee, are you able to hear him properly? Okay, thank you. Okay, so go on, Mr. Iqbal.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chair. So I just explaining quickly what the application is. I'm sure you have all the information there. Basically, it's the accessory building behind the existing house. The client would like to have a pool house. And because it is located in a woodland area, we were required to do a natural heritage evaluation study. We have spent about 1 year to complete the report. And the report recommended that we locate the building in an area that is open and without any trees. So that's what we did. And the proposal you have in front of you, it basically shows that the pool house in an open area with no negative impact on the environment. And I guess the other point I'd like to make is that the building is in a low ground. So from the street, you wouldn't be able to see it because the topography changes at the back. And so basically you just see the roof of the building from the surrounding neighborhood. And we did our best effort to propose something that is environmentally sensitive and follow the recommendation of the environmental consultant. And I'm here to answer any question that you may have. Also, we did follow the zoning criteria in terms of height, size, setbacks, except that the zoning requires us to go through this process to get your approvals. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other members of the public who want to make a presentation?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no public delegations for this application.
Okay, thank you. Now I'll ask members of the committee if they have any questions. Michael?
Through you, Mr. Chair, question for the agent for the applicant. How far set back from the main house is this enclosed pool? Approximately, I'm not clear on that.
For you, Mr. Chair, I think I don't have a clear dimension from the house to the accessory building, but I could estimate it's about 16 meters from the house.
And having said that, is there any link way between the house and the pool house?
No.
You know, I'm just wondering, during the winter,
Yeah.
There's no link way.
No, there is not.
So is this like a 3-season structure as opposed to? Sorry?
Well, you say it's a pool house, so it has to be maintained during the year or yearly, because otherwise it's not going to function. And in the winter time, we'll kind of, but I think it's full season, all year round use. But there is no connection that, you know, directly to the house. So.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Thank you, Michael. Any other members? Julian?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So the town in the recommendation listed quite a few conditions for approval. as recommendation. My question to the agent for the applicant is, have you reviewed those conditions and do you agree with them?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, we have, and those recommendations partly comes from the study that were done. We have shown on our site plan that what they recommended mostly, and then there are some recommendations that we have to hire an arborist for certain items that we will follow accordingly. And yes, we do agree.
Thank you, Julian. Any other questions, Julian?
So one more question. I think this is it's more about the condition about the financial security. Approximately, what's the range of the financial security that is usually seen for a condition such as this?
So this question maybe could be to Adam, probably.
Yes, sorry.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, no problem. And through you, Mr. Chair. So that would be dependent on our tree protection bylaw. A full study and evaluation as indicated in the report and conditions will be undertaken. And as well, the owner is proposing offsetting or replanting at a 3-to-1 ratio. So all that would factor into the final numbering, which we would determine as part of the clearance of the condition.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Christopher, any questions?
No questions or comments. Thank you.
I myself have one comment. I was happy to see in the conditions that the condition, I think 2F, where staff are actually recommending to provide pre-construction measures. Since we have not read the heritage report, so we depend on the staff's report. And staff's report mainly have been things like during construction, mitigation measures during construction, but I wouldn't see anything to deal with the pre-construction or even post-construction. So I'm just happy that I could see that in the one of the staff's recommended conditions. Also, one question maybe to staff is just for confirmation. I see from the drawing here, can you confirm that the pool house meets all other zoning bylaws? Because I can see here there's been concentration on the these two bylaws which deal with the natural heritage feature, key features, significant woodland. Are any other bylaws being met?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no other required relief as indicated through the preliminary zoning review that was conducted.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so the members, any more questions from anybody? No. So I'll be looking for a motion from one of the members. Julian?
So I'll move to approve the application subject to the conditions listed in Appendix A.
Okay, thank you. Any seconder for the motion? Christopher seconding the motion. All in favor of the motion? Motion carried. So Mr. David Egbo, your application is actually approved. So thank you very much.
Thank you very
And have a
much.
good night.
Good evening. Thank you. Bye.
The next application is a minor variance application MV-2022-36 at 17 Buchanan Crescent. The application The applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the development of a cabana accessory structure. The following relief is being requested. Section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum exterior side yard of 6.0 meters. The applicant is proposing a cabana accessory structure, which is 1.3 meters to the exterior side property line. Applicants stated reasons for not complying with the zoning bylaw. As stated in the application form, I am unaware of the zoning bylaws requirements pertaining to corner lot facing road and was under the impression that I was complying by all the rules and regulations. Unfortunately, I started construction and now unable to move my structure. Public correspondence. There are 5 opposition letters and 21 supporting letters for this application. In conclusion, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act for granting of a minor variance. Staff recommend approval of the requested variance subject to 2 conditions. So do we have an agent or applicant who want to speak to this application?
Yes, please. I would.
If you would
like
mention your name and
my
your
name-
address, please.
Yes, my name is Constantine Rollis, 12 Buchanan Crescent.
And you are the owner.
Yes, I am.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So go ahead, Mr. Constantine.
Thank you. I've just prepared something I want to read. I'm not very good at public speaking.
No problem. No problem.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the committee, and dear neighbors. My name is Constantine Rollis. I have lived at 12 Buchanan Crescent for almost 10 years now. I love my neighborhood and living in Aurora. I plan on living here for many more years to come. I saved money for a long time and plan to install a pool along with a cabana structure in my yard for the enjoyment of my family. I proceeded to obtain all permits and paid the fees necessary to begin construction. I would like it to be known that, to the best of my knowledge, I abided by all the rules and that in no way, shape, or form during this process did I purposely attempt to circumvent or bypass any rules, bylaws, or regulations. Unfortunately, at the time, I misinterpreted and failed to notice that the bylaw is different for structures when pertaining to corner lots, and specifically the side facing the road. My understanding was 1 meter from the property line all the way around, and that was how we proceeded. The issue regarding the cabana structure distance was brought to my attention after the work began. Nevertheless, once the town informed me of the bylaw specification, and keeping in good faith, I took steps to rectify the problem immediately, heeded the town's direction, and halted the construction for over a period of 2 months' time. As per discussions with the town, I submitted a minor variance application. There was a hearing held in October that was adjourned, as we all agreed at the time that it would be best to get a new completed survey before proceeding, and that was done and submitted to the town this spring. However, due to the requirement of a new survey and the length of time it took to complete, I was concerned about preserving my investment regarding materials, etc. And due to the changing weather and coming winter, I, along with my contractor, made the decision to winterize the structure. This included installing a roof and insulating the walls. The cabana is far from being completed, but at least safe from the elements for now. The feedback from most of my neighbors has been very positive regarding the work and what I have done to my property with enhancing the overall look of our neighborhood. I made sure to add greenery, had a garden built, and planted flowers. I hope to get the committee's support and approval regarding this minor variance application so that I, along with my family, can continue to enjoy my home for many years to come. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Constantine Harris. Appreciate that. Do we have any other public delegation
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no other public delegations for this application.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the committee members? Michael?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, or Constantine. There are some letters of opposition that I'm reading as we speak. And in one, they say that they're opposing the application because you failed to get a building permit for the structure in the first place, right? And so even in the town report, it says that.
Oh, I did obtain a building permit. This application is for the minor variance. I did obtain building permits and all the permits that were necessary.
How big is the structure? What is this, the dimensions?
I don't know offhand. It is not that big. Everything was submitted to the town. I thought that you would have that information. I can, you're gonna give me a second, I can have a look.
I mean,
it's a small cabana. It's not a huge structure.
what we've got 17 feet by 22 feet. Maybe staff can tell us if a permit was issued.
For you, Mr. Chair, no. As stated in the staff report, the owner constructed the existing cabana without a building permit. It needs to be legalized through this subject variance in order to become fulfilled from a building permit perspective as well.
But the town, an accessory structure above a 10 by 10, does it not require a permit prior to construction? Like, what is the town's zoning bylaw for that? Like,
as an accessory structure, this would be requiring a permit. I can pull up the mapping or the plans to show the exact specifications or dimensions, but I can't say this would require a permit.
It's 17 feet, 10 inches by 22 feet. That's a sizable accessory structure. And does it meet the height requirements? We don't know that.
In terms of the preliminary zoning review that was conducted, it does meet all other required zoning provisions. And as an accessory structure, the general nature is being subordinate to the primary dwelling, which this cabana suffices.
I drove by the property just as a matter of observation. I mean, what Mr. Constantine has done with the wall, and also then the structure, it's overwhelming, in my opinion. And I can see why some of his neighbors are, kind of wondering what's going on. Did Mr. Constantine speak to his neighbors before undertaking this major project, or do you have any letters of support from? You mentioned that your neighbors are okay with it, but do you have any letters of support?
I have many. I have several letters. I have over 25 letters of support which I have submitted. I talked to a lot of my neighbors.
Yeah, actually, we have on record 21 support letters and 5 opposition letters. So just to describe the nature of opposition letters or support letters. So there are some support letters, I'll say, okay, if you have there are some support letters where Mr. Laris prepared sort of a one-page document, and in there he described what he's doing, and he's saying your support in the approval of my application for this variance will be greatly appreciated. Then he provided his name and address, and he left a gap at the bottom. If you can see this, I'm not sure you can see at the bottom where then he puts the name of the person, the address, and the approval. So he has got many of those, and if I would count, let me see here. I would say 16 of them, they're just like that. So people supporting, they have their names, so they're given this form and so on. Then five of them were actual letters or emails written by those individuals and sending to town staff. So just to describe the nature of the support letters. So yeah, I have here 21 support letters, and we've got the 5 opposing letters. Does that answer? Does that provide you more information about the opposition number of opposition letters and the number of support letters, Michael?
So you're saying you have over 20 supporting letters?
Yes, 21.
21 supporting letters.
Yes.
And only 5 in opposition, and
yes.
And we don't have anybody else here that wrote those letters of opposition here.
No, according to the Secretary Treasurer, we don't have any other additional public delegation.
Yes, that is correct. There are no other public delegations for this application.
Yeah, I have a concern with this in that we have an applicant that didn't apply for a permit, built a sizable, like, I don't know if you guys can see it, but
yeah, I've been to the site myself. I've been to the site.
Yeah, it's an overwhelming structure, and there's a mailbox for the community right in front of it. And then you can see the overhang is quite sizable. I know he's got eaves troughs in that, so collecting the water, but I'd like this committee to send a strong message that it's not acceptable to go ahead and build something without a building permit. Because if we allow that, it's contrary to the bylaws that we have. It's contrary to the rule of law, basically. I don't know what else to say. I mean, you built it and it's there. Staff probably can't force you to move it. They don't want to. According to the report, it's a minor variance. But I think this committee needs to send a strong message that under the rule of law, you apply for a permit, you get it all straightened out before you start building. And it's important that we all follow the rules, right? That's my thing. So I stated my position. Thank you.
Do you want to respond to those comments, if at all, Mr. Rallis?
Yes, I would, through you, Mr. Chair. I just like to say that I did not, like I mentioned in my opening letter, I did not. I thought I had all the proper permits. I thought I had done everything. I thought I'd crossed my T's and dotted my I's. Like I said, I never purposely tried to circumvent anything or try to do anything without going through the proper channels. The minor variance, I sent drawings to the town before I built anything. I had the drawings approved. I'm not sure of, it's been a while now, and I can't recall all the processes that we went through, but I'm still under the impression that I did everything correctly, except for the fact that this came up about it being a corner lot and then the distances and why I needed a minor variance application put forth. I'm a little bit confused, to be honest.
Okay. Any questions or comments from other members of committee? Christopher?
So through you, Mr. Chair, question to town staff first. So we haven't at all spoken about the engineering and grading required for this large retaining wall that was installed. Does that form at all part of the application or any sort of process that this applicant will need to go through?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. You will note that as a recommended condition of approval, as number 2, a requirement for a grading and drainage plan is to be prepared to demonstrate the drainage pattern on site has been maintained and the structure and associated grading work completed shall not cause any adverse impacts. That is a key consideration with this proposal. One other thing, if I can continue to, I did do the math on the gross floor area. And again, the preliminary zoning review also confirmed this information of no other relief being requested. But the GFA of the structure is approximately 28.6 square meters. A maximum permitted number would have been 34 meters, so it complies in that regard. And then building height, permitted is 3.5, whereas the structure's height is 2.4 meters. So that is why the subject application and variance at hand is just for the one relief, being the exterior side yard.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, if I can ask a second question while I have my hand up.
Yes. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Thanks so much. So Constantine, I'm just wondering, I'm just trying to follow your story about the building permit. So if it was the case that you did in fact submit for a permit, would the town not have caught this setback, error or requirement at that time? I'm actually a bit confused by your response as to how that would be the case. Incorrectly.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm confused now because I thought I did everything correctly. I submitted drawings, and then this came about later on in the process. So, to be honest, I'm a little confused myself. I wasn't aware that I did anything that I wasn't supposed to. I thought I got all the proper permits, all the fees I paid, all the applications I put forth, all before I started any construction. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused myself.
Is there a reason why you're coming now to, I guess, legalize this? Like, it seems like you're done the whole project. So
no, the cabana is not finished. Like I said, like I said in my opening statement, I just had to winterize it to protect my investment. But we had a minor variance hearing in October regarding this because this all happened in late summer, early fall, and there was a question brought up about the existing land survey I have for my property. And it was requested and suggested, and I agreed to go ahead and get a new survey done with the changes, which I went ahead and did. It took time. It took a few months to get the surveyors to come out and do all the work and send me the completed survey. And as soon as I got it, I sent it to the town, and we proceeded, and we are where we are today.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Christopher. Julian, any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, so the applicant's saying that he applied for a permit and the town said that he didn't. So is there a record of a permit that was applied for, or what did the applicant apply for prior to constructing the building, if anything? Is there a record of that to the town staff?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, I can confirm that a building permit was not issued. So the structure is henceforth illegal by virtue of the minor variance being requested and the building permit not being issued.
Okay, so if I understand, he may have applied for it, he just didn't get the approval of it.
That's my understanding as well, through you, Mr. Chair. And I believe there was other additional construction matters at hand, such as for the pool, I believe another gazebo area or something to that effect. And again, initial very conceptual drawings may have been submitted, inclusive of this cabana, but not detailed enough for the issuance of a building permit at that time. Since that time, things like this minor variance and the required relief have been solidified to try and bring in that structure into full conformity.
I think Michael has a question. So
Yeah, you finished first, Julian. Do you have other questions, or you want to
I'll
pass
think
to-
about I'll think about it farther and let Michael
Yeah, okay.
ask the
Okay,
question.
Michael, please. Go ahead.
Sorry, but through you, Mr. Chair, so the town had an application had the applications in, but not enough detail to approve the permit, right?
Correct. Through you, Mr. Chair, that's essentially correct. And the primary issue is that that initial conceptual drawing, based on primarily a focus on the pool, didn't include any dimensions or any consideration of this structure cabana that's subject to this review now. It was then constructed, the permit wasn't issued for that portion of the work, and now the variance is before us to legalize that structure that was illegally constructed.
So having said that, is there any penalties that the town can impose on individuals that do this, or?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, it's interesting, right? Because even at this variance level, say the variance gets approved or it gets refused, if it gets refused, the owner would still be subject to appealing that. So we'd have to see that run its course through the OLT as well. Depending on that outcome, yeah, there could be formal measures to remove the illegal structure, would be as far as it would go, to my understanding.
Is there any way that the applicant can meet the conditions? So if we were to defer this application and he would reapply for a building permit and meet all the conditions that the town is requiring of him, and then come back to us for the minor variance, is that a possibility?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I do believe there are restrictions based on the pool and the actual sort of developable area or buildable area for such a feature. And again, it's kind of the process has already unfolded here, where, as Mr. Constantine said, he's been at the committee before, his application has been deferred. He's trying to go through all the right mediums, and that's where we've resulted here today. Whereas we even required through a previous deferral to have an updated survey provided to show the exact dimensions as required for, in that case, it was to also confirm any needed variances for the rear lot. And again, we can solidify that the only one exterior side lot is required.
But you mentioned the pool and the other issues that come into play as well. If we were to put in a condition saying maybe that, we would approve the application subject to a building permit being issued and everything meeting the requirements under the zoning, including the pool and so forth.
So through you, Mr. Chair, it's kind of a catch-22 or a chicken and egg thing, right? Whereas the building permit, and specifically for the cabana, cannot be released or issued until the variance relief is provided, being as the setback that's being requested, right? So, and then the building permit is essentially in limbo until relief through what we're reviewing here tonight is provided.
So he's still required to apply for a building permit officially after this approval.
Correct. As typical through any other variance, even some of the ones we've heard tonight, you have your variance approval, then you come in for a building permit. This obviously is a bit of a different order here. So that's why we run into that sort of catch-22 problem.
So are you aware, Mr. Constantine, that you still have to apply for a building permit?
Yeah, yes, I am now. I mean, I was a little confused about the process. I'm sorry. I was. I am a little more clear now. But it's true that when I submitted all the drawings included the entire backyard, which was a pool and outdoor space with an overhang and the retaining wall. And yeah, somewhere in that, I guess, got lost the cabana portion. So like I mentioned earlier, never meant to do anything illegally, never meant to circumvent anything. I wish I could go back and do it from the beginning. I've tried my best to rectify it. It's cost me money. I had to get a new survey that was a few $1,000s. I mean, you know, I'm trying my best to make it right. And that's what I'm here to do today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the members of Christopher?
For you, Mr. Chair, I have a question for either the applicant or town staff. I'm looking at the survey that was prepared, and I'm just interested in the distance between the corner of the cabana and the shed on the, it looks like the north west corner. Am I reading that as 0.92 meters, or is that distance to the property line?
You, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the mapping as well here.
It's on page 35.
So through you, Mr. Chair, the owner can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that arrow is pointing to the distance between that X marker and the property boundary.
Sorry, are you asking me?
If you have any further information, you can certainly provide it, but that's my initial interpretation. Again, the variance measurement is for the exterior side yard and the 1.3 where that's shown. But if you have any other details of the other dimensions, feel free to also say them.
Yeah, sorry. I think that dimension is correct, but I also was informed that that falls within the parameters of acceptance. I'm not sure what the terminology is, but that's what I was informed. So that is not an issue, is what I was told. That's my understanding of what that's about.
So can staff just perhaps confirm that is in line with the fence bylaw, that is an acceptable distance, or?
Yes, so certainly through you, Mr. Chair, I can confirm that it is an acceptable distance and that the only relief as required is that 1.3 to the exterior side. And going back into the history books a bit too, that was the purpose of requesting, previously subject to deferral, requesting a survey so that building staff could do a comprehensive zoning review. And they take a deep look in these and they uncovered only the one variance for that exterior side yard as well.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, any other questions to any other member? For me, I've got the sort of, maybe I would say questions. You have asked a lot of questions and you have left me with no questions, maybe just comments. So I just want to confirm, actually looking at the survey drawing. So that 1.29 meters is basically rounded up to 1.3. That's what it is. And the required is 6 meters. So you have reduced from 6 meters to 1.3 meters. And the staff report says this location is not abutting any neighboring any residential property or dwelling. So should we assume this survey, which was asked or conducted in March 2023, and I would say this question to Rob, and just for confirmation. So are you able to confirm that I think you can rely on this survey, is the accurate survey done by the OLS, I think?
Yes, to you, Mr. Chair, I can confirm that as correct.
Yeah, because I think in the last committee, there was a problem of distances and so on. They were not driving. I have another question maybe to staff. Sorry, staff, putting you on the spot.
It's all good.
It's something about the wall. If you look at the wall, so you've got a sort of a retaining wall, which is made of stone wall, and then you've got the fence. can you just comment on that, that the building department, the zoning folks, they looked at that's okay, so you got the wall, and then you got the fence, becomes like a big, tall wall to people's
Yes.
eyes.
Yeah, through or directly to you, Mr. Chair, and to the committee. And I apologize. This may have also been asked by Chris too, so I can sort of elaborate if my answer. I think I spoke to the recommended condition before, but on further to that, we also did have a detailed review undertaken by our development engineering team. So our team of engineers were able to look specifically at that retaining wall feature, and there are no negative impacts anticipated, no concerns.
Okay. The guess that retaining wall was required for grading of that property and so on. There was a comment from one of the opposing folks about since it's not part of the minor variance. I just want to recognize that. But he is talking about like the roof setback. The roof are very, very, very close. Is that the reason? Maybe also you are asking to provide sort of the question here is that we want a professional engineer to provide a sort of drainage plan. Is that one of the things to establish if there's any, flows from the roof downspouts and so on affecting the drainage of the area?
You, Mr. Chair, that is correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I don't think I've got any questions. Sorry, town staff. I've sort of asking the client that maybe
All good.
clarification from him, from you. Anyways, again, any comments from members of committee? Any additional comments or questions? Okay, so at this time I'll ask for a mover. I would like to have a motion. From one of the members.
So just a question before we go to the motion.
Yes,
Are we
yes.
able to add a comment to the motion that we put?
I think so. Correct me, Adam. Or Peter.
Yeah, sorry, Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, the committee members, if you would like to add a condition, you are also free to do so. But in terms of a comment, what do you mean by a comment?
For example, if I were to move to approve the application for minor variance in this instance, subject to the conditions listed, but comment that we don't approve of applicants building such as this prior to getting a permit. Like it's not really a condition, it's just us voicing our opinion that it's like this is not okay, and to dissuade future potential applicants from doing the same thing of having the process reversed, building it and then getting approval after building it and saying, oh, it's already built, so we can't move it, so please approve. So I guess for context, my opinion for this application is after the survey and after the reports generated by this planning staff, the minor variance in this case is pretty minor, in my opinion, but like the way with which it went about is still not ideal, and is
So maybe to add to that is maybe it's trying also, I had that feeling also, but I was just wondering how we would put it. Basically, what he's trying to say here is, we read from the staff's report, we read from the comments from the folks who are opposing that the applicant went on constructing. We're not sure whether it's finished, but the applicant is saying that it's not finished. He sort of stopped. So maybe if you let's assume we approve this, that means the applicant will have to apply for building permit. So basically, has to wait. Let's say it's been approved. He has to wait till he gets a building permit and then continues construction. Rather than okay, committee adjustment has said okay, and then you continue building even before getting a building permit. Is that what you are trying to say also, Julian? Or you want to also send a message that, hey, folks out there, please don't construct without a building permit?
Yes, that's more of the message that I wanted to put.
So from the Peter sorry, and Rob, what is your thought? If the way I'm seeing it, it would be maybe a condition. What is your thought?
Yeah, if I may, and through you, Mr. Chair, and Peter, feel free to interject as well. I mean, this meeting, it is a public meeting, or it's on the public record. I would suggest first and foremost making a strong indication of this in the minutes. And if the committee wants to have, again, it straddles the line where it's not truly a condition, right? If there's nothing truly binding in nature of the condition. But I would just recommend that this be absolutely noted and strongly reinforced in the minutes if that's the committee's satisfaction. But certainly if there are other recommended conditions that the committee wants to consider, they certainly can.
Okay. Any other comments before the motion? We don't have a motion yet. Christopher?
Just kind of regard the, like, maybe in addition to the fact that this was illegally built without a permit, and that's wrong, and everyone knows that. I don't know that I see this as a minor variance. So to go from a 6 meter setback to a 1-point-something meter setback, yeah, we've really kind of given that enough consideration in my view.
Okay. Okay, so we're out there. We've sort of had a discussion, having opinions in what can be included and so on. So I would need to have one of you have a motion. I know it's a tricky application, but I'm looking for a motion from one of you. Are there any motions? So you have to also maybe let me explain another thing, which I think maybe Adam or Pete can explain, is that you can have a motion, let's say for approval, and somebody may second, and then he will say we vote, and you find that you may not have the quorum of 3 minimum. Or you ask for approval, motion of approval, and you ask for seconder, nobody seconds. It means that motion has failed, is denied. Then I will ask for another motion. And then another motion would be maybe denying, and then you will also ask for seconder. And maybe there will be seconder, and maybe it will be carried or not. And if not, then it will be another motion is the deferral probably. If people will think maybe it needs to be looked at, given the chance. And maybe Adam or Peter, can you just explain some of these, what they mean? So basically, my understanding of the motion of approval, the motion of denying, then you could have a motion of deferral.
Yep.
Yeah.
So through you, Mr. Chair, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Approval or refusal are essentially binding decisions. That is essentially a hardline decision being made by the committee. Approval is one path. Refusal would entitle the owner to, as I mentioned, pursue an appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal. And deferral is exactly that, a deferral to a future meeting where no binding decision is being made. The one point I will just make again is that, it is a unique application in the sense that the path or the correct path wasn't exactly followed, or the right sequence of events or sequence of orders. But when it comes down to the Planning Act and reviewing the application, they will be applying that 4-part test. And even at the level of the Ontario Land Tribunal, they will look to conformity to the OP zoning bylaw. Is it minor and is it desirable? So just again, reinforcing that as our key lens to view this application under all other things, certainly acknowledged as well.
So I'm hoping all the members have understood. Is that a question or a discussion or a motion, Julian?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, finish your sentence.
No, I'm asking you, you raised up your hand. So I'm saying, hello, Julian. So I'm asking you, is that a motion or a further discussion or questions or whatever? That's what I'm asking.
I was preparing for a motion.
Okay, go ahead then for the motion.
Okay, so I move to approve this application, MV-2022-36, subject to the conditions listed in Appendix A. And with the comment that the minutes should reflect our discussion surrounding the procedure of this entire matter.
Okay, so basically the procedure in terms of providing a message or warning or request that, the applicant should have obtained a building permit before constructing. And even if they say if it's approval, it shouldn't continue to go to build until it gets a building permit. Is that what it is, Julian?
Yes, you've phrased it very well, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. So do I have a seconder for this motion? I'll ask again, just to make it clear, was public record. Do we have a seconder for this motion? So we don't have a seconder, that motion is denied. So can I have an alternative motion for this application? Michael?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm empathetic to the owner. He's genuinely said that he tried to do everything correctly. But having driven by the property, it's an imposing situation there. It seems that he's built a retaining wall just inside the lot line, right? And then he's gone about putting even a fence and then a structure. So without a permit. So that's what I'm having difficulty with. But I'd like to offer an opportunity. My motion would be to defer the application and allow the owner to go through it's not going to cost him anything. It's not as if he has to pay fees for another committee of adjustment hearing. But to allow the owner to work with the town and go through the building permit process so that everything can be in order, like that meets everything, like the pool, the retaining wall, the structure. Maybe he can work with town staff. And I read the report. It seems like they're just saying, it's a minor variance, but I agree with Christopher. It doesn't seem to be a minor variance because in totality, what's happened here is not minor. So my motion would be to defer the application. It's not going to cost the applicant anything, and allow the applicant to work with town staff, apply for a building permit, and then come back to us at a later date. And whatever the minor variance is, then at least we can say he worked with town staff. They went through the process, and that's my opinion. So I move to defer the application on that basis.
Okay, so do I have a seconder for that motion?
So before we proceed to that, I think if I understand correctly, and I see that Adam has his hand up virtually, but I think Adam commented on that issue saying that...
Sorry, before you go, Adam, do you still, your hand is up to say something?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So Julian, do you want to start or you want to give chance to Adam?
No, I'll let Adam go.
Okay, Adam, go. Sorry, I missed that hand. I thought maybe it was still
No
there.
worries.
Okay. Okay.
No worries.
Sorry.
And yeah, I don't want to interject, but I think Julian was going to be on the same general trajectory there, where the motion to defer becomes, in a sense, problematic on the grounds as stated, because again, it's that catch-22 situation where the owner has been working with us. The owner has come forward with this subject variance as provided today, with a supportive staff report. The pool is constructed, the other features are constructed. Again, this is the variance at hand, so to speak. And you can't go back, and a building permit can't be issued unless the required relief comes first through the variance at hand, if that's clear.
Okay. Is that clear that the deferral would not lead to anything really substantial to be done? Is that what you are trying to say, Adam?
Yes.
Okay. So in that case, then Michael, maybe and the Christopher, or even Julian, maybe you have another motion. Probably we have one motion. We have the staff have explained that the deferral in this case may not really mean much or anything. Okay. Again, Adam, continue.
Now, yes, sorry to interrupt through
No
you,
problem,
Mr. Chair.
no problem.
Deferral, if there's something else that you want of the applicant, another justification, another way to say how this, fully, gives you better peace of mind is one thing. But to defer to have us work backwards from the building permit wouldn't logically work out, if I'm making myself clear, if that kind of makes sense. So even if you want to defer just to have more time to consider, that is valid. But if you want to defer to have the town staff work with him through a different medium, that wouldn't be possible. I hope that.
Yes, yes. But also maybe deferral, if you have the comment here, I heard from both Michael and Christopher, they're talking about from 6 meters to 1.3. That's a very big difference. Maybe the deferral could be in terms of shifting that building, which of course it will cost money, but shifting that building so that it probably will increase the setback from the 1.3 to make it a bit better. Maybe not, it may be not satisfy the whole 6 meter and not come back. It happens. I've seen cases where you go back, the floor goes back, it doesn't even come back. It goes to the town where the applicant meets the requirements, maybe 6 meters exactly, or even if it's even more, even 6.1 or whatever, or because maybe of space issues and so on, maybe the setback may be a little bit increased. Let's say from now 1.3, maybe increased to 2 or 2.5. And then, you come back to committee, say, okay, I've tried my best, you gave me a chance for defer, to look into this again. And then you do that. So there are also those opportunities. So maybe let me ask okay, Adam again. I was going to ask you the owner, the applicant.
That's kind of where I was going to, Mr. Chair. Constantine, I would welcome you to sort of speak to the overall feasibility of any additional or relocation of that structure. We've worked, the town and the owner have worked based again on the premise that there is limited developable area or wiggle room, so to speak. But Constantine, feel free.
To you, Mr. Chair, I don't think that's possible. I think it's impossible. There's nothing I can do. It's not a structure that can be moved back or can be adjusted in any way. It's physically impossible to do anything like that. And I just, I thought a minor variance is 6 meters or less is a minor variance. So, yeah, I don't know, but there's nothing physically that can be done. There just isn't. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Michael.
So my motion is still on the floor, to defer the application on the basis of trying to figure out something along the lines maybe of the side yard setback being increased a little bit. And the other conditions as well. So the motion's still on the floor. If there's no seconder, so be it. Through you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So we have the motion of the deferral. So Adam, you are saying the deferral will not really mean anything if like to come with a solution.
You know, unfortunately, I think Constantine just again reinforced the fact that there are no other exploratory options for the location of that cabana.
Okay, so let's see, we have the motion of deferral. So any seconder for the motion of deferral? So the motion of deferral, it seems, is also defeated. Now going to the third round. Can I ask for another motion from the committee? So just to also maybe explain, correct me, Adam, even if a motion of approval was defeated, sometimes it happens that through this discussion, we've discussed the deferral, discussed the denial, we've discussed different things. Sometimes members would come up with different positions or how they look at it. So what I'm trying to say here is still would go around the other motion. So they would go back to the approval, or would they go to the one which has not had or have not had, which is the denial.
Correct. Through you, Mr. Chair. Peter, feel free to add anything, but that's my understanding. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The members are free to, move another motion to approve the application, even though it has been defeated previously, if so wish to ongoing discussion.
Okay, committee members, I'm looking for a motion, the third round. I've not heard from you, Christopher. Sorry, I'm not putting you on the spot, but or Julian, or even Michael, all of you, it's open. You can still have another motion.
So through you, Mr. Chair,
Or-
before we move to another motion, do you think it's helpful to have a discussion of exactly what the issues that we're facing with are? Like distilling the issue to see if we can resolve it, or to identify if it is an issue or not. So I think the issue Michael was having is he wanted the deferral to allow the applicant time to work with the town to push the permit through. But then we heard from Adam that they can't do that. The permit is conditional upon us approving this minor variance. So they were in the process of doing the permit and they were stuck on this minor variance issue, which is before us today. If we don't approve it, then there's no permit. If we approve it, then the permit process can continue. So that's my understanding of the issue currently. Michael also discussed perhaps the option of moving the cabana or downsizing the cabana. The applicant says that's not possible. So the only alternative then is to reject the application, in which case, I guess, the consequence is that the cabana has to be taken down. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the owner would be able to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and that appeal would resort back to an evaluation of the 4-part test. Again, it's in the staff report, but to generally summarize, it would look at that exterior side yard through conformity to the OP and zoning, and then from a minor and a desirable perspective, which again, it isn't necessarily a numerical, it's about impact to the public realm, impact to access, things like that. But again, there is a supportive staff report as well.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just would like to respond to Julian's kind of request for last comments here. So I don't really know that there's much more to debate. Like, I think we've all asked very good questions. The reality is that if the product that was built fit on that lot with the required setbacks that are established in the bylaw, then there would be no, no reason to have this discussion. The applicant would have chose either a different size structure, which they didn't. They decided to proceed with building an illegal building that did not at all conform with the bylaw. And I think, what's the point of having bylaws if we're going to get to the stage where somebody can then build whatever they would like and come and say that they didn't know the bylaw, didn't get their permit, they were confused. So just to be clear, I don't support any sort of approval for this deferral. I don't either. I don't see the point. It doesn't fit the neighborhood. That's quite clear. And I think obviously if folks feel that it is a minor variance, with all due respect, please, everyone should have their own view, but I think that I would not support this. So just making my position quite clear.
Okay, so any more discussion? I know Julian wanted to say something. You mentioned Dr. already. Christopher, any more discussions, Michael, before I ask for a motion?
Yeah, I don't have any further comments other than
okay. Okay, so members of the committee, I need a motion from one of you. Michael.
Christopher's got his hand
up. Sorry, Christopher. I was actually looking at Michael. Yeah, Christopher.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to deny MV 2022-36 based on the fact that it is not a minor variance, in my opinion.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Michael, is a seconder.
With the comment, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I agree with Christopher. It's not a minor variance, and it's when you talk about the 4 tests, compatibility with the neighborhood is a very important part of that test. And I think town staff has failed to recognize that this is an overwhelming structure in a community where originally there was a fence almost at ground level. And then he's built a big retaining wall. He's elevated everything, and it's an overwhelming. The streetscape has changed. So, in my opinion, and I support. I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we'll go to the motion. All in favor of the motion? The motion is carried. So, Mr. Constantine Raris, your application has been denied, and I'm hoping the planner explained all the different things which you can do after this, whether you can appeal, or probably you may wish to do something else, maybe change the design. But the way it is, you cannot, if you apply for building permit, it will not be accepted.
Through you,
so
Mr.
instead
Chair,
of just providing an explanation.
Through
Hi,
you,
Michael.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, there was another member. You haven't asked him whether he didn't raise his hand for approval. Yeah.
Yes. So basically, yes. So I have to finish the motion and provide the reasons to the applicant. That's what I'm doing now. And then I'll ask Julian. So Julian, is it opposing or is it you opposing the motion or abstaining?
I'm abstaining from this motion.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Constantine, for your time waiting for decision from the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We're sorry the decision is different, but as we hear, the committee looked at your application, they see the minor variance seem to be not really minor, from 6 meters to 1.3. So wish you the best for the next actions you have.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Chair.
have a good night. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you. Yeah, folks, that was a somehow difficult application, but our job, we have to make a decision by the end of the day, end of the night. Now, the next application is minor variance MV-2023-26 at 14889 Young Street. The application. The applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to permit the operation of a pet service animal day care for dogs that features an outdoor play area and the overnight accommodation for the animals. A conceptual plan, site plan, and floor plan actually were provided for this. The following relief is being requested under the definition of pet services in the zoning bylaw. The use requires one, that it be placed within a wholly enclosed building. Two, that animal daycares shall not include overnight accommodation. The applicant is proposing an outdoor play area for the pet services and overnight accommodation for animals. Applicants stated reasons for not complying with the zoning bylaw. As stated on the application form, the primary business will be operated in the wholly enclosed building complying with the existing bylaw. However, we request the added service offering of outdoor pet relief play area similar to child care centers, as well as overnight boarding services for which the preliminary zoning review concluded a minor variance is required. Public correspondence. So for this application, I've got 2 opposing letters and 4 supporting letters. In conclusion, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act for granting of minor variances. Also, the staff have provided or recommended conditions for approval. Now, do we have an applicant or agent who would like to speak to this application? So,
Mr. Chair.
So, okay, so if I have here on my list, but I would like you to mention who you are, like owner or agent. I have, I think 3 people here. One is the owner, the other one is the Dogtopia head office. The other one is the business owner next to the new market location. So identify yourself as an owner or agent and mention your full name and address.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm the applicant. I'm leasing the property. My name is Anna Sankar, and the property in question for the variance is 14889 Young Street.
Yeah, so you that's the property, but do you live in on that address?
I live at 233 South Park Road, Thornhill.
Okay, thank you. And the another one, I can see Michael. If you can provide us your full name and address.
Through you, Mr. Chair, my name is Michael Waitzer. I'm an executive with Dogtopia Canada, and I live at 22 Elderwood Drive in Toronto.
Okay, so are you here as an agent?
I'm here to support Anna.
Okay, so you'll be coming, you'll be like a public delegate.
Absolutely.
Okay. Then we have Melissa.
Yes, hi.
Hi. So if you could, are you as owner or agent, or you be a public delegate?
So I am here in support of Anna. I am a business owner residing just south of the Aurora location that Anna was going to be opening. The address is 14845 Yonge Street. I rent an area within a business in that strip plaza.
Okay. So you'll be called later on. So at this point, I want whoever among you who's going to make a presentation to the committee. And if we maybe both of the two remaining could be maybe as public delegates. So let me know, or as you're coming for as an agent. So you have an owner or an agent representing the owner. So usually would have both speaking. But if you are just another business owner, but you want just to support, you come as a public delegate. Is that okay?
Then a public delegate, then yes.
Yeah, okay. So Anna, do you have anything to present to the committee? Make a presentation or comment or anything?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, I have prepared a brief presentation. Mr. Fan, if you could pull it up, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So through you, Mr. Chair, committee members, thank you for giving me the opportunity to provide some supplementary information on our type of daycare business. I'd like to start off by saying that perhaps the impression of many letters of objection that have been received visualize our service as a kenneling facility or a barn. We're not anything like that at all. We are an open concept, open play, all day daycare for the dogs indoors. And the minor variance request is to provide something similar to a childcare where they get a little bit of a recess twice a day for some fresh air and sunshine and resume back with the main operating business indoors. Next slide, please. At Dogtopia, our vision is to enhance the joy of pet parenthood and enable dogs to positively change the world. We do this through our daycare services that are designed to enable dogs to have plenty of socialization, exercise, education, making them better canine citizens, better behaved at our facility and even outdoors in the public and at home with their owners. We also support various charitable initiatives through our Dogtopia Foundation. We sponsor service dogs for veterans. We support youth literacy programs, and we provide employment opportunities for adults with autism. Next slide, please. COVID-19 has created a booming effect on demand for dog daycare. The rise of pet parentship is something astronomical that we've not seen in the previous years. With people now returning back to work, going on vacation, there is an increased demand for care for their pets during business hours, as well as for overnight stays when they go on vacation. And we are here to fill that need for Aurora. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned earlier, maybe the impression was that a pet services opening is going to be like a kennel in Aurora. We are not like that at all. I'd like to think of Dogtopia as a doggy Disneyland. We have 6,000 square foot property that we're building in on right now. About 60% of that space will be occupied by the dogs in 3 separate playrooms as outlined in the gray shaded areas on the floor plan there. The dogs are separated by temperament, play style, and size. Which is not offered in many similar daycares in the surrounding areas. So the small dogs will be safe. The big dogs will have their own place to be. Our typical floor plan includes 3 playrooms with an optional outdoor space, which is fitted by artificial canine turf. Next slide, please. We want to assure Aurora residents, residential and commercial, our neighbors, that we are a good neighbor. We come with high levels of certification. Our staff goes through rigorous training. We consult with veterinarians, biologists, environmental biologists, as well as animal behaviorists to construct a program and educate our staff and provide the level of care that is considered an expert level for our pet parents and the dogs. There are over 200 locations across North America, over 20 plus locations in GTA area. We have the support of many local businesses, and in fact, a typical Dogtopia resides in a strip plaza, often having neighbors on either side sharing walls, and there has never been noise complaints or complaints of odor within any of the facilities that we have open to date. And I think a big part of that is the way we construct our facility to consider noise and odor as two major concerns and how we mitigate those things. Next slide, please. It smells in here is something that no one who has ever visited a Dogtopia has ever said. We have state-of-the-art HVAC systems with built-in UV lights. So we take pride in the fact that the air indoors is almost cleaner than the air outside. We use bioenzymatic cleaners that effectively digest odor. We have a waste management plan in place. We spot clean immediately for any messes made, and we have rigorous cleaning protocols multiple times a day, as well as a thorough cleaning at the end of the day at every shift. In terms of the outdoor area cleaning, our area will be envisioned to be fitted with canine turf. There will also be spot cleaning after every elimination, detail cleaning at the end of the day, and we will use a turf cleaning machine daily or twice a day as required to clean up any debris or organic matter that remains. Next slide, please. It's too loud over there. Also has not been a comment that any of our current commercial or residential neighbors of Dogtopia locations have made. And this is because of the way our contractors have built our facilities. So indoors, we incorporate sound attenuation by air gapping inner walls. We also use sound dampening drywall. As I'd mentioned earlier, typical locations are located in strip malls where often there's neighbors on either side sharing a wall, be it a pizza place or a massage parlor. Any of those types of noise levels have not been any kind of a concern. They don't hear us at all. We're all operating really well side by side, and the locations have been around for many, many years. Also, as I'd mentioned, we have 20 plus locations in Canada currently, which speaks to the fact that it's a proven concept, and our construction, noise abatement, odor abatement are all very sound. Outdoors, we would install a tall privacy wooden fencing with the height, of course, to abide by the fencing bylaw. We are not a facility where we're going to be having dogs running around outside all day, which might have been another concern from neighboring residents. Our daycare is primarily indoor. We will have a plan for 2 scheduled outdoor breaks. Each of the 3 playrooms will get half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the afternoon. So the total outdoor time would be a maximum of 3 hours in an operating day of a 12-hour shift, which is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and always supervised by staff. If there's any concerns about a dog excessively barking, the dog will be immediately removed and put back indoor at our indoor facilities to enjoy the indoor daycare. Next slide, please. We offer enormous job opportunities for both part-time, full-time, as well as management roles. Our part-time staff are what we call canine coaches, rovers, shift leads. This is the hands-on staff that will be working with the dogs and supervising them in the playrooms, as well as implementing all the cleaning protocols. We have pet parent relationship managers, as well as an operations manager to oversee everything and ensure that both the clients and the staff is operating by the high standards that Dogtopia has. And of course, a general manager who will be myself initially overseeing all these operations ensuring that everything is going per plan. Next slide, please. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I hope this clears any lingering questions after reviewing my application.
Okay, thank you very much, Anna. Now I know we have got the public, the members here. So we can start with the Michael. Do you have anything to say or comment?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think this is a desirable project here in Aurora, and I just have some questions.
No, Michael, you see, Michael, it's public, it's not yet to the members yet.
But I completely agree with the other Michael.
Sorry, Mike. I thought you.
So I would always
it's not yet open to the members of the committee. Still, we've got the 2 members of the public.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I would say that I can say I opened the Newmarket location. So I was the owner of the Newmarket location when it opened 7 years ago. We have had no complaints. I have subsequently sold to a partner, but we had no complaints. We were a welcome addition to the plaza. The community enjoyed the facility. And we had, through the pandemic, we were outstanding community members. We actually offered free daycare to frontline workers and were deemed an essential service. I also look after the construction. So if there are questions later on how we build our facilities, I'd be happy to answer the best that I can. But that would be what I would say in support of Anna's application.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. Melissa, you have any comments or anything to say?
Just as a business owner who resides just south of where Anna's going to be opening, I can honestly say that in no way whatsoever would this impact our business whatsoever. We're a chiropractic clinic. No one's ever outside. By no means would we ever be able to hear any dogs within our business. And I can't speak for other businesses in that plaza, but the fact that it is, we have a TD bank, we have a convenience store, a UPS store, a paint store. These are all indoor facilities, and I would be hard pressed to see how having a small controlled outdoor area for dogs to roam around for a few hours a day, how that would impact any of the businesses. What I can understand the concern of nearby residences. But that being said too, though, I think a bigger concern would be, I actually think that Anna's business would be much quieter than what the previous business was, in which a nightclub. I think that having a few dogs outside would actually be much quieter than the previous nightclub of Greystones. And also when you have Dogtopia that's going to be sandwiched in between the current Esso gas station where there's a loud car wash. And then you also have a grocery store just south of where Dogtopia is going to be. Well, you have the loading dock, for instance, that resides there for the grocery store's deliveries. And I just don't see how Anna's business would be adding any additional noise volume to what would currently be there. So I can say, for instance, for my business that resides there currently, we would absolutely be welcoming her, and it would cause zero disruption for us. Like I said, I reside only about 300 meters from her, so she's very welcomed in the area.
Okay, thank you very much, Melissa. Do we have any other delegate? I see a name here. Terry Molloy. Am I pronouncing correctly? Sorry about that.
Yes, through to you, Mr. Chair. I just thought I would wait.
Yeah, so Eugene, if you have got any comments or questions about the about the application.
Yes, I would like to make some comments. Thank you. My name is Terry Malloy and I live at 15 Royal Road. So I'm 4 houses from Yonge Street, 4 houses from the residents or from the proposed Dogtopia and the plan. Now I understand that Dogtopia is definitely happening and I'm excited about that. I love dogs. I do. But I do want to voice concerns that I have about what I've reviewed, the other Dogtopias around the GTA. And I was only able to find one that had an overnight boarding. And that one that had overnight boarding that was near residences. All of them are, as you said, in strip plazas with grocery stores and lots of things around them, but not housing, not residences. So I did want to make that point clear that that's what we're seeing. And you have 200 locations. I did not look at all 200. I looked at the general area around us. And so I understand where complaints would come from. Businesses are busy and they wouldn't be concerned about the noise that's happening during the day. But we're a residential area with children and other dogs that are now going to hear a lot of other dogs barking all the time. So we do have some concerns around that as well. But I wanted some specific questions answered more so around what are capacity limits? Are there any limitations being set forth with this variance? What if there is a lot of noise? I heard that if I have a complaint about a dog barking, then you'll let them in. I thought these dogs were being monitored.
Can I just interject a bit? Just to make sure your questions are addressed.
Okay.
Maybe if you have your questions list, you will ask one question.
Sure, absolutely.
Maybe Anna is going to answer, or is it Michael? And then you go to the next question. I just want to make sure that all
so
the
let's
questions
talk
are
about the
addressed, because I
capacity
don't want,
question first.
Yeah, you list all the questions and then later on you only have 2 being answered because there are a lot and so on. So ask you first question.
Okay. So are there capacity limits for the dogs overnight as well as for the outdoor space?
So Anna, are you going to answer that or is it Michael?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I could defer that to Michael to answer, please.
So we have, I'm going to go back to another question. We have boarding in all of our locations. And there are more than one that are, I don't know which one you were noticed that was in
Bloor West Village. Bloor West Village has residences nearby,
right,
but they do not have an outdoor play place.
Sorry, it was right in the middle of a residential neighborhood. Burlington as well. Newmarket actually has residential behind the location.
Within 300, 400 meters?
I would think within 400 meters.
Yeah. Did you have to get a variance there?
We did not. The second question is capacity. So to put things in perspective, boarding is about 15% of our revenue model. And we have a capacity limit of number of dogs in total that are allowed into the building. That's part of our business model. It happens to be exactly the same as children's daycare. We stipulate that there must be 30 feet per dog, 30 square feet per dog. So that sets, depending on the size of the play space, that sets the number of dogs. So that's the other answer. And the minority of those dogs are boarding. It is a service, it has peaks and valleys depending on seasonality.
Okay, so Terry, you want to go to your next question?
So you have specific capacities for overnight. You have different capacities for outside as well. Okay, and so I did understand from the presentation that if I made a complaint about the noise, that a dog would be brought inside or limited. But what I'm concerned about is that if the dogs are being monitored carefully outside, I would not have to be complaining and calling the town or calling you. I don't want to be a bad neighbor either. I want us to get along. So I'm hoping that there's a monitoring system so that I don't have to call you, that you will deal with it before there's a problem. My question is, what kind of surveillance is on the dogs?
Go ahead, Anna.
Through you, Mr. Chair, perhaps I misrepresented what I meant to say in the presentation, Terry. What I meant to say is there will be the same staff that's supervising the dogs during their indoor time for the rest of the day will be outside with the dogs when they have their outdoor time. They will have activities with them. They'd be blowing bubbles. There might be like a pool for them to dip in. So the dogs will be redirected to activities when they're outside. When I mentioned about the barking, I meant this is a part of our self-monitoring. So if there is a dog that's not settling outside, we will bring them inside. Of course, we will not let it escalate to a point where you have to complain. We also want to be good neighbors. We do understand that there's residential abutting our property. Having said that, we did speak with Petra Wiederman, who's immediately adjacent to our property, and she supports our application. And we hope that once we have this conversation that you do as well.
I did make a note in the comments that I provided to the committee prior to coming on here that I do feel that any comments from Petra are a bit of a conflict of interest as she sold the property to Dogtopia. And of course, she profited from that greatly. So I would expect that any of those comments are not entered into as part of a record. If you consider that, I would appreciate it.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just to clarify, we do not own the property. Dogtopia is leasing the property from the current owner.
So to my point, even more so than I have to say. Thank you for clarifying that.
I'm not sure, but okay.
I do believe if you're profiting from it as it's a leased thing, that she's going to be happy to have you there as a business that's been waiting to be leased for, I think, a year. It's been empty. So I do understand that she's appreciative of having a leased place, but I also think that her opinions about the not being a problem or a noise or a nuisance might be a conflict of interest. Do you not agree?
Oh, through you, Mr. Chair, Terry, I'd like to clarify that the property was sold to the owner, I think, over 2 years ago after Greystones closed down. It has been vacant for almost, or maybe a little over 2 years now. And we are the first tenant that is leasing the property. So I don't believe Petra and the owner have any suggested conflict of interest. No, the owner of the property is not a part of the Wiedemann family at all.
Okay,
they've retired, retired. And moved
yes,
on.
I know. And I'm happy for Petra. I'm happy for Jane. She loves dogs too. So, and I know that. Can I just
interject a little bit? So we just want to make sure that the meeting, the question shouldn't be like a conversation, a discussion.
Right.
It should be something you are asking questions and then he answers, rather than like a sort of a discussion and so on. And make sure you have your questions are asked and not like discussing something like that. Yeah. Okay. Continue.
Okay. So my last question, through to you, Chair. My last question is, if there is excessive noise by the dogs and we don't have a satisfactory response from the leasing company, what recourse do we have through the town if this variance is accepted? Are there bylaws, I guess, around noise with pets and dogs, etc.?
Adam, are you able to answer that question?
Yes, certainly. It's you, Mr. Chair. There is our noise bylaw, and if volume limits exceed what's permitted by the bylaw, bylaw officers could certainly come out.
And is there, sorry, through the chair, I have another question.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Sorry. Is there a time frame on that noise limitations on that bylaw?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there is, and it's my understanding that the applicant only proposes the outdoor play area during, quote unquote, business hours, so to speak. But yes, the bylaw does have parameters around that, as well as penalties and enforcement mechanisms.
Through the chair. So can you tell me what the time range is, please?
I can pull up the bylaw exactly and report back to the committee on that.
Okay. I have no more comments. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Terry. Much appreciated. So now it's open to the committee members. If you have questions, just raise up your hand and or comments. Michael. Now the other Michael, the member, Michael.
You got the right Michael this time, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair. I just have I read the staff report. I'm well aware of the neighborhood. My question is the outdoor play area for the dogs. I'm looking at an overhead of the site, and I see number 7 Royal Road. Is the play area to the back of the number 7 Royal Road, or to the back of 14889 Yonge Street? Is that where the play area is going to be? The outdoor play area for the dogs. That's what basically you're asking for a minor variance for, right?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Mr. Visconti, it is at the back of 14889. That area abuts the side of 7 Royal Road, where they have a garage shed, and a few meters away is where their house begins.
So I'm looking at the overhead. It seems like a small area. You don't have the actual dimensions of it, do you? Or is it? And it will be fenced according to what the staff report is, right?
Yes, correct. So it's just the back of the property with a little bit into the, I guess, the parking area without eliminating any current parking spots. I'm looking at the dimensions here. It's a little small, my apologies, but it looks like to be around 1,100 square foot.
Okay. And it's obviously going to be accessible from the building into the area, right? Not from the parking lot into the.
Correct. There will be no access from outside for either the dogs or the staff during operating hours. I'm not sure if you can see from the layout, but the way the building is structured is they have extra exit doors along the property. 3 of these exit doors would actually exit into the proposed outdoor space, which will be all fenced in.
And the height of the fence, we're not going to have a real athletic dog be able to jump the fence, are we?
So we do have measures in place for that, because we do have all that considered. I myself have a dog that is capable of that, but we have measures in place. And if through you, Mr. Chair, if I could defer to Michael to comment on that, please. Michael Weitzer.
So we actually have we install rollers on top of the fence so that dogs can't get a grip. They're actually called fox rollers for fox, keeping them out of the chicken pens. But the same concept works for us. If the dog can't get a foothold, they can't get over the fence.
So, sorry,
they've been used extensively and successfully in some of the other 235 locations.
So no dog has been able to escape from that area. Okay, thank you very much for your answers.
Thank you. Any other member with questions? Julian?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. So I'm also excited to have a Dogtopia in Aurora. I think that's it's very well needed. I'm a dog owner myself, but most of the complaints from the letters of opposition are with respect to noise and smell. And I appreciate that in your presentation, you've dealt with both of those. I also see in the recommended conditions of approval that the town suggests requires a noise study. And I would assume that the details of that study should address most of the concerns, if any, from the people who oppose based on noise. I guess it's more of a comment than a question, really. But does the study for the noise also incorporate, for example, past business hours like Terry was mentioning, when there's no more business activity and there's noise, does that noise study also extend to that as well? Adam, I think.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I can confirm the earlier question as 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. And yes, the noise study that is a required condition of approval of this minor variance would look what's beneficial to a specific noise study is that it looks at the exact operation of the use in all aspects. It will look at the function as a pet service. It will look at the outdoor play area. It will look at the overnight boarding, and then prepare recommendations as well as recommended mitigation measures that can be incorporated.
Thank you.
Any questions from Christopher?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. So for me, I've got a sort of questions. I know some of them you clarified, but I still have questions just to clarify. So my questions relate to overnight stay, and it's specifically about the noise. Also, can you confirm that this at night, do you have somebody there watching on the dogs?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, we will have an overnight attendant for overnight boarding dogs.
Okay.
So,
Now, in terms of night noise, and at that time, as I think Terry or others have mentioned, it's very quiet, and you know you can easily hear noise and so on. Maybe just for us to know, what are the measures you usually do when let's say the dog is barking at night, or how do you make it that you mitigate that problem of dogs barking and so on at night, and then the neighbors would hear and wake up?
So if I may, through you, Mr. Chair, the same buildings methods that we use to keep our neighbors happy on either side in line would apply here. But more importantly, we as a company have a standard that no dogs are allowed to come for boarding that haven't been in daycare since 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And the reason we do that is dogs play, they tire themselves out, and by the time the cleaning is done and it's bedtime for the dogs, they're tired. And in the main, there's always a dog that'll bark, but in the main, the dogs are tired and the dogs go to sleep. I've seen this firsthand. It's a great policy that we have so that the dogs are spent by the time it's time to go to sleep. We also don't let dogs come for boarding unless they've been to daycare at least 3 days, so that they're familiar with the place, they're comfortable, there's no anxiety. It's for the health and safety and mental health of the dog.
Okay. In terms of the facilities for removing odor, the smell, I read in the staff report you got the HVAC, and you saw other mechanical components and so on. Maybe can you explain more about what's involved, what will be provided, just for the sake of the residents, and we have Terry here to know really what extra mile you'll be having to make sure that there's no smell and going around the surrounding.
So we do two things. We treat our facilities very much like a quick service restaurant in terms of the amount of HVAC that we use. We have, as Anna had mentioned, we put UV lights on the air intake, which kills bacteria on the way in. We use cleaning materials that remove the odor at source. And we are constantly cleaning the rooms. And so the facilities are, we exchange air about every 11 minutes. The rooms don't get time to smell because we're constantly cleaning. They clean as the day proceeds, and they do a deep clean at least every night.
Okay. Other question, I think you go to the town staff, and this is about overcrowding. I don't want to blame the owner, the applicant, but it's something which happens, the business there, people know there's a new business, people say, oh, it's, want our dogs going there. And then the owners get overwhelmed. There are a lot of customers wanting their dogs there. And, I have to be realistic here. I mean, you find they will increase, they will have 2 or 4 more. And how does the town monitor that? Does the town have something in place where they would, go inspection? Basically, here I'm talking about probably how often do you inspect such places to check if here I'm talking about overcrowding, but also if there are any things like odor. Of course, about noise is something you hear from the residents. Things like noise and the overcrowding, especially. How do you do that to ensure that there's no overcrowding?
Yes, to you, Mr. Chair. It all comes through our bylaw services department, where they are strict. They're strict in terms of parking. If there's overflow parking happening, or if there's noise, or if there's any sort of nuisance in the area, bylaw will respond promptly and issue the required enforcement.
I would also add through you, Mr. Chair, that we would have a site visit pretty much every month. And if Anna we run a very professional business, which is part of the reason we're a relative outlier yet, because most daycares are, for lack of a better word, top operations. But we supervise each of the facilities. If Anna gets close to capacity, she'd be opening a second location. She would not go over capacity. We would not allow it because that becomes a safety issue for the dogs. And as I have said to many people, we are safety first, second, and third. And then hygiene of the building is fourth. And then our customers are about fifth, our human customers.
Yeah, okay. Let me see. I have another question. Let me just check from here what I've asked before. Okay, the other question and this one, I'm sorry I have to ask this one, but just for the sake of maybe there are public listening and so on, because we're the opposition. Did you, before choosing this site, did you look at any other possible sites in Aurora where maybe they are far away from the residents at all? Did you at all look for other areas, if maybe you have any information about that?
So through you, Mr. Chair, Anna has looked at many, many locations. This is prime for several reasons. The constituents that live in the neighborhood are dog owners. For the first time in the history of the statistics being kept, there are more dogs in Canada than cats. And the constituents want dog daycare near them. It's a service, they demand it, and she's putting it right where they want it. So she's looked at many, many locations and determined that this was the best for her. One, largely because it's an independent building, so she controls every inch of it. Second, it's on a major street, so she was not as concerned about the noise. So she's put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah, okay. So you talk about the statistics there. So you are trying to say that is it maybe town of Aurora or York region, they have some statistics in terms of residences which have got the dogs and so on? That's what you're trying to say?
Unfortunately, dog licenses are not very well regulated. Mm-hmm. So many dog owners don't have licenses. Mm-hmm. But Canadian statistics from about a year ago were that there are more dogs than cats. There's 8 million dogs in Canada, just as a number.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for explaining. Any questions, Michael or Anna? Do you want to say something or? or to
Yes,
add? Yeah, okay,
through you,
go ahead.
Mr. Chair, if you were curious as to why I came to Aurora, even though I live in Thornhill, I actually volunteer for an animal rescue. We have several fosters that live in Aurora, and I came to visit them to do photo shoots for the dogs. And all of them were wondering where they could send the dogs for daycare when they go to work. I've heard this about 15 times, and then it made me think, you're right, Aurora does need dog daycare. So I drove around town. It's absolutely beautiful. I would be honored to run a successful business and serve all the pet parents in Aurora.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comment. Michael?
Through you, Mr. Chair, one of the conditions recommended by town staff is number 4, that the owner shall obtain a business license for a kennel from the town bylaw department. Just to maybe alleviate some of the fears of the resident Terry Malloy, can Adam maybe explain what that business license will entail? Like, there's got to be some defining things in that license that helps residents know that this is a legitimate business and that the kennel license will be provided to them under certain conditions, right? And they've got to renew that license annually, I guess. I don't know.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, that's absolutely correct. The bylaw licensing structure is very rigid because it looks after, first and foremost, the safety of the community at large, as well as the pets themselves, the actual operation of a business. And it's there also for a registry portion as well, making sure that we have the required information we can effectively regulate based on all the things that were already spoken about, noise, other nuisances or odor. It all becomes sort of codified through a licensed regime as well that allows that to be publicly available and on record for bylaw services to respond accordingly to.
And just a final question for either Michael or Anna. The health of the dogs, is that to be maintained by the owners, or do you guys have veterinarians that come in, and if the dogs aren't healthy or if there's some kind of situation there, like
so we always have a relationship with, through you, Mr. Chair, my apologies. We always have a relationship with several local vets. As an aside, vets love us because we require for a dog to participate in our daycare, they must be up to date all the time on their required shots, including Bordetella, so we don't allow the spread of kennel cough. And so if we had an instance where there was some sort of emergency, we've had dogs that have ailments and we need a vet, we have one on speed dial, for lack of a better word. And so there's always, we don't do any injections. We will, if we're feeding a dog, we'll give a dog topical or oral medication, but we won't do injections. That's for a vet to do, not us.
Thank you for that. No further questions.
Okay, any other questions? Since we're going to Terry here waiting, Terry, do you have any questions, any additional questions? Okay, any questions to the members? Okay, so can I have a motion from one of the committee members? Michael?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I move the application number MV 2023-26 be approved along with the Appendix A recommendations for approval of town staff.
Do you have any seconder for that motion? Michael is seconding. All in favor in the motion? The motion is carried. So Anna, your application has been approved, and thank you for your patience waiting for all these questions from the public as well as the members. So wishing you a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair, thank you everybody for your input.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have two applications, and these two applications will be here together. So about they're for the same location, 125 to 175 Eric T. Smith Way. The first one is a consent application. The other one is a minor variance application. So I'll start reading the consent application, and then finish with the minor variance. And then when we're making decisions, we'll start again with the consent application, and then finish off with the minor variance. And I would ask, after maybe I've read this, ask maybe Peter or Adam, probably to show us, just in case, to show us the figures or drawings which can come up with the application, especially when it comes to even both for the consent as well as the minor variance, especially the minor variance, because there are a lot of them, so that, you know, just to remind the members where they are and what they mean. Okay. So I'll start reading the consent application. So it's consent application number C-2023-03 at 125 to 175 Eric T. Smith Way for Gatardo 404 Ontario Limited. The application. The purpose of the consent application is to sever portions of the property municipally known as 125 to 175 Eric T. Smith Way to create two new parcels, parcels A and B, and retain a portion of the land's parcel C. The proposed consent will result in three distinct parcels, as shown on the drawings which were provided, or figures provided. So for A, parcel A, Staybridge Hotel, the proposed severed parcel is identified as parts 3 through 10 on the draft of consent. The purpose of parcel A is to accommodate a future 125 unit Staybridge Hotel. Parcel A has a total area of 0.894 hectares. The number B, which is for parcel B, internal roadway access from Eric T. Smith Way. The proposed severed parcel identified as parts 1 and 2 on the draft plan of consent. The purpose of the parcel B is to provide a north-south private road with the private infrastructure that will connect to Eric T. Smith Way to service parcel A and parcel C. Parcel B has a proposed road area of 0.135 hectares. The number C is for parcel C, which is a retained parcel for future use. The proposed retained parcel is identified as parts 11 through 14 on the draft plan of consent. Parcel C has a proposed lot area of 1.069 hectares and will be retained for a future use. Public correspondence. We don't have any opposing or supporting letters. In conclusion, the staff indicate that they are satisfied with the proposed consent application. Staff have no objection to the approval of the consent application, subject to conditions in the in this staff report. Now I'll read the minor variance application, which is the minor variance MV-2023-21, again for the same address, same owner. The application, the applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to address technical lotting elements of the related consent application C-2023-03 and to facilitate the development of a 125 unit Staybridge Hotel on parcel A, as shown in the appendices. These corresponding parcels of the consent application will serve as an internal road parcel B and a future employment use parcel C. The following relief is specifically being requested. For parcel A, you have 1, 2, 3. We've got about 9 minor variance applications, specific minor variance applications. The first one, which is A, section 10.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum lot area of 1.0 hectares. The applicant is proposing a lot area of 0.894 hectares for parcel A, sorry. Then various B, section 10.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum road frontage of 60 meters as measured from Eric T. Smith Way. The applicant is technically proposing a road frontage of 0 meters on Eric T. Smith Way, as the parcel is planned to be accessed internally through a newly created roadway. Variance number C, section 10.2 of the zoning bylaw permits a maximum building height of 13.5 meters. The applicant is proposing a building height of 23.4 meters. Minor variance number D, section 10.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum landscaping strip from the north lot line of 3.0 meters. The applicant is proposing a landscaping strip of 0 meters, as landscaping is already provided along the property boundary. Minor variance number E, section 10.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum landscaping strip from the south lot line of 3 meters. The applicant is proposing a landscape strip of 1.5 meters. Minor variance number F, section 10.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum landscaping strip from the west lot line of 3 meters. The applicant is proposing a landscape strip of 1.8 meters. Minor variance number G, section 5.4 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum of 152 parking spaces. The applicant is proposing 129 parking spaces. Minor variance number H, section 10.3 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum of 4 loading spaces. The applicant is proposing 1 loading space. Now for parcel number B, which is the internal roadway access from Eric T. Smith Way. The first one, number I, section 10.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum lot area of 1 hectare. The applicant is proposing a lot area of 0.135 hectares for parcel B. Minor variance number J, section 10.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum road frontage of 60 meters as measured from Eric T. Smith Way. The applicant is proposing a road coverage of 13.3 meters, as this matches the existing side frontage, and the parcel is planned to serve as a roadway only. Minor variance K, section 10.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum landscape strip from the west lot line of 3 meters. The applicant is proposing a landscaping strip of 1.5 meters. Section minor variance number L, section 10.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum landscaping strip from the east lot line of 3 meters. The applicant is proposing a landscaping strip of 1.8 meters. For parcel C, which is the retained parcel for future use, there's one minor variance labeled A. Section 10.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum road frontage of 60 meters as measured from Eric T. Smith Way. The applicant is technically proposing a lot frontage of 0 meters to Eric T. Smith Way, as the parcel is planned to be accessed internally through a newly created roadway. The applicant's stated reason for not complying with the zoning bylaw, as summarized from the application package, the proposed consent, minor variance, and site plan is to offer a permitted employment use as part of newly created parcels with access from Eric T. Smith Way. The requested variances are consistent with adjacent land uses and permissions and address technical loading aspects specifically due to the unique configuration of the existing parcel. Public correspondence, we have no opposition letters or supporting letters. In conclusion, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance does meet the fortes of the Planning Act for the granting of minor variances. Therefore, staff recommend approval of the requested variances subject to the conditions in the report. So that's the end of reading these two applications. As I said, we're hearing these together. And I know we have got the David Bernard, I think is the consultant. I'm not sure. Are you the owner or the agent?
Agent. I'm the agent.
You are agent, okay. So do you want to speak to the applications?
Well, I really should just answer questions if there's really any. You explained it pretty well. We're severing the parcels. Sorry, first and foremost, my name is David Bernard. I live at 9.
Okay, sorry, I forgot. I want you,
okay.
Your address, especially your address.
It's late, so I get it. It's 10 o'clock. I'm tired. My name is David Bernard. I live at 926 Drysdale Crescent in Milton, Ontario.
Okay. Continue with your presentation or your comments.
Well, it's more to keep it brief for everybody's sake, because you've all listened to a lot of talk. It's a commercial.
Start with the consent and then with the minor variance.
So to show the consents, here's their colored plans. This parcel, this used to be one giant parcel. They built the first hotel, severed it. They're building the second hotel, severing it. And then they're going to have a leftover piece for sale, either or to develop themselves. The reason for the 3 parcels of land is that these parcels have 50% ownership in this road. So it acts like an easement, but it's its own parcel. It's how the owner wanted to do it, so we're doing it this way. It's the first time for everything for me. So because we're severing the property, we have all these variances, right? So we're sort of like double dipping in this. We could have developed it as one property, but for ownership purposes and mortgage purposes and partner purposes, it's better to have separate parcels. So that's why we've created all these parcels. So I don't know if there's any questions on the consents perspective. It seems pretty clear on that. Might be the variances that you have questions on.
Okay, just because the minor variances they are a lot, maybe let's do. I was going to ask you to go to the minor variance, but maybe let's see get questions from the members based on the consent, because I can see it can be overwhelming. There are a lot of minor variances. So any questions from or do we have yeah, okay, maybe okay, let's go the process. Read the let's go through the minor variance again, because later on I have to ask if there any public or let me ask you Peter, do we have any public delegation?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no public delegations for both of these applications.
Okay, so that's good then. Let's finish with this one then. Because I was thinking maybe later on after, if you read both, then we're going to have public delegation. So we don't have anybody. So any questions or any comments from the members on this application? Michael.
You're muted.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. On the consent application, I'm interested to know the access road will be extended into the new parcel A, I guess?
Yes.
And what will be the, it's at the front, the parking for guests? And with the stay bridge, will the parking be opposite the parking for
Yes.
the Holiday Inn?
Yeah.
Is that my understanding?
That's correct. This is the Holiday Inn Express that's there today. I've been there many a times myself.
Mhm.
Where our lot is right here. So this road right now is existing, sort of existing. It's under construction. It's a temporary road for access to the back here. Through this development application, this road came in with it, basically. So we're just continuing the road straight down. So the variances, because they should have been addressed earlier, I guess they were missed, maybe. But it's a 9-meter road. We're proposing a 9-meter road. We're just keeping the existing thing. We're putting a curb on it. The only difference. The Holiday Inn Express. So you can see on this thing, it has a 3-meter landscape buffer. Typically, you'd have 1.5 and 1.5 on each side, so you can get your soil volume. So what the idea is that we're sharing soil volumes, but they've already provided the 3 on this one already. So we're not going to provide another 3 for variance number 1, which is the landscape buffer. So that's why on our site plan, give me 1 second, I'll just move my screens. I have too many things open. I was sharing the screen. Sorry guys, I got too many screens. So that's where the Holiday Inn Express parking is right there. Can you see the hotel?
No, I don't see
No,
anything.
cannot see anything. We're just seeing one line.
I got to figure out which screen you're seeing right now. This one?
No.
I'll stop sharing. I'll reshare. Because now I've forgotten what I'm sharing.
Yeah, actually, because I know there's a lot of minor variances. That's why I said let's look at the consent first, and when we finish consent, we look at the variances, because there are a lot of them and could be confusing.
It is confusing. That's why I summarized it
So-
in this list.
Yeah, so the one, if you show the one for consent, the other one, I have myself on my screen. I've got 2 screens here, but the one showing the consent, the other one, the other drawing which shows those 3 parcel A, B, C, that's the one. So that's what I want you members of the committee to ask questions about the consent.
Yeah, and that's my question. The parcel A is the new hotel.
That is the new hotel, yes.
Yeah. Okay, and the parking allowable is going to be opposite the existing front entrance and parking of the Holiday Express. Am I
Yeah,
correct?
we're building parking around the building in this case.
Oh, I see. So it's not a mutual usage then for the Holiday Express and Staybridge.
No, but they could easily go out the driveway and come back in as well.
I see. Okay, and the height of the buildings, are they the same for the
Same.
Holiday Express?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
In the staff report, I think it calls out the numbers. They had the same variances for their property, or similar variances, parking, height.
Okay, thank you.
Or can I just ask the members? I can see Mike was asking questions related to minor variance. Are you comfortable? Let me ask you for all of us. Are you comfortable that we have David to go and explain explain the minor variances, and then I ask you to ask questions on any one of these? Or do you want to just concentrate on the consent and the minor variances?
I say let him explain the minor variances as well.
Also, okay.
Sure.
Okay, so Dave, explaining all of them.
Certainly.
I
I'll do
would
my
say
best.
there are a lot of them. Maybe members, I think we have all read these. Maybe if they say you are not sure about it and they're well labeled, can you zoom in a little bit so that all of them can be seen? I know you have zoom out. Sorry, zoom out so that you see all of them. Yes, they are very clear, well labeled there. So should I ask you members? Should David explain all these, or you want to have specific questions and then you can explain based on what variance is labeled, and you can explain. You ask questions and then you can explain. Okay, Michael.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think I understand the requests for minor variances, and they are minor. They meet the 4 tests, so I don't have a problem with them. General questions that I had are answered, so I'm comfortable with the minor variances.
Okay, Michael, what do you think? I just want to make sure, because you work with different comfortabilities. For me, like I was looking at this of minor variance, like overwhelming. And then when you look minor variance, then you add the consent, then it becomes too much. Maybe you look at the consent first and then only concentrate on minor variances. But whichever you think is okay for you.
I think I've reviewed the staff reports, and I understand fully what the minor variances along with the consent is, and I think it's good planning, and I think they meet the 4 tests. So I'm comfortable moving forward with both.
Okay, Julian, I'm looking at the on screen here.
Yes.
Are you comfortable working first on the consents and then he explains the minor variances later, or you have read all these and you may have specific questions on the consent or minor variances and you just do at the same time?
No, I have read everything, and I'm satisfied with doing it at the same time.
Yeah, okay. So if you have any questions or comments, Julian?
No specific questions for me.
Christopher?
Same here. I reviewed the material in detail. It's quite clear. I don't have any remaining questions.
Okay. For me, I think I had one question which I think Mike asked, was the about the easement. So you explained basically I saw that access easement was terminating just where the property line for the other one, and you say it's a mutual easement. So long as that connects to the property, the future property parcel C, that you will not have issues, then that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you go to the one, the consent, the other drawing showing consent, yeah, that one there. If you look at that, the parcel B, just make sure that I know you have done it, but because I mentioned there are cases whereby you find that later on, yes, it comes to the point that later on you have to do another plan, you have to do something else, because legally, though you have that access, that it terminates the other it doesn't allow the parcel C to have access. So that's just what I was just trying to concern, but I don't think is an issue. Yeah. For the minor variances, let's look at the ones showing the landscaping strips.
Sure.
If we just show those, and just for us to understand, I know that all different.
They're just different numbers. That's all they are.
Yeah. So I don't know on the table, but the location of those landscape strips, because I know you labeled them very well.
I tried.
So on the other one, yeah, this one here, this one here.
So this is parcel A, the hotel, right?
Yeah.
North is 0. West, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but it is the west 1.8, and then south property line 1.5.
Okay.
And then this one we didn't need a variance because we have 14 meters because we have the MTO setback.
Okay.
Which is 14.
Okay.
So then we get into parcel B. Same things. We have the setback here on both sides. So you can't really see it because I got 1.8 on one side and then 1.64 on the other side.
Okay.
And then we come down to frontages. Obviously, this property does not front a public street. So you have to access it through this, the only one that has a frontage. And same thing for this one. It's landlocked. It has to have access. They will own ownership of this land. That's the purpose.
Okay. I think, yeah, you explained. So, just a question on the loading spaces.
Yep.
So you think one loading space will be enough?
Oh yeah. Look at the did you see when I brought up the Google Earth? Can you see this Google Earth?
Now we can see, but previous we couldn't see.
All right, so this Google Earth. Hotels don't ship and receive, right? They receive goods very rarely. Do they receive goods? They technically have two loading zones. They always have a loading zone, more of a pedestrian loading zone underneath the canopy. And then you always have one for the garbage area. But every hotel I do, I pretty much apply for a variance because it's designed for warehouses.
Yeah, okay. The other one was the just to clarify from you, the parking. The parking spaces.
Yes.
So from your experience, have you had any problems with the such a parking reduction, or how do you compare with the other hotel close by there?
It was in the staff report. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. If you give me 2 seconds, I'll review it. So I've been involved in pretty much all the hotels around here. I know that I'm currently finishing off Hampton Inn right here, and it has very comparable numbers to this hotel. And I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. They're in the staff report because.
Yeah, I saw.
Basically, we were better than all of them. We're at 1.03 per room, and all the other ones were like 0.9, 0.98, or something along those lines to rooms. Brand standard doesn't take into account public space because that public space is generally used by the members that come to the hotel. So it's usually 1-to-1 for hotels. That's what the brand looks at. They accept up to 0.8 for rooms, and it's getting less and less because people don't take cars anymore. They take Uber, they take other things. People share more than one car. If I go on a business trip, we rent one car.
Yeah, okay. Just a question to town staff is about the height of the building or the hotel. Adam, maybe just for the sake of members also. How do you relate the height to the number of floors allowed for this type of hotel or size of hotel? Is there any relationship you have?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So a couple of factors come into play when evaluating the height. First and foremost, as mentioned by the agent, the Holiday Inn Express to the north has that same 6-story height already at play. And it's actually advantageous from a site design as well as for contributing to our official plan and really exemplifying a prestige look from Highway 404 as well. It's created this sort of landmark set of buildings with these 2 hotels here as well. And then the subsequent and concurrent site plan application will also ensure highly effective detailed design as part of that sort of landmark status and really high quality aesthetic and materiality.
Yeah, okay. So in other words, within the zoning of this area here, it's limited to the 6 stories, is it?
Yep.
You cannot go higher than that.
Well, we could. There's no reason we couldn't, other than the bylaws really.
The bylaw, yes.
That's why we have the variance. Yeah.
Yes. That's why I would really pretend to marry the 2, or tend to marry the 2.
If you take a look when you're driving down the highway in Canada, you will see pretty much every hotel is 6 stories. It's the and the reason is because as soon as you go to 7 stories, your code changes. So now you just increase your cost for no reason whatsoever, other than more rooms.
Yeah.
So hence why we stick with 6 stories. It meets the building code. It's not a high building. It's a low building. It's still low rise. As soon as you go above there, you may as well keep going because at that point you're into more cost. And we've built.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any more questions. Any more questions or comments from the members of the committee? Okay, so I'll be looking for a motion. Any motion or motions? Let me see my screen now. I cannot see. Can you remove the presentation now? Thank you. So I can see everybody. Okay, Michael.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I move that the consent application be approved. I guess we got to do a
Yeah, you do one at a time.
Yes. So.
Do approve subject to the conditions in the staff's report?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Julian, or in favor of the motion? Motion carried. So, Mr. Bernard, the consent application has been approved. Now, may I have the motion for the minor variance application from the members? Christopher?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I motion to move forward in approval for the application minor variance 2023-21, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report.
Any seconder for that motion? Julian, all in favor of the motion? Motion carried. Mr. Bernard, your application, minor variance application has been approved.
Okay, I had one question. I had a
yeah,
question.
okay.
It was about one of the conditions in the staff report. I found sort of weird how.
Which minor variance or
Minor
consent?
variance, yeah.
Okay.
I'll bring it up on the screen.
So just there are only three. Just to speak to them.
It was condition number 2.
Number 2. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the question?
It was about requiring me to provide a 0.6 buffer for grading, but I couldn't put light standards in it. And I didn't understand why I couldn't put a light standard in something that is a buffer.
Okay. So I would say, since your application has been approved,
I'm just curious.
Probably, I don't know, Adam, do you have an answer? I was going to say that you can resolve that later on with staff. But anyway, Adam, want to explain?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that would be my answer as well. It's something we can work together on moving forward. It's a comment, I believe, that came from engineering, but we can look to rectify it.
Well, I noticed the retaining wall after the fact, so. So I know I did.
So are you okay with that answer?
Yep, I am.
Bernard? Yeah, yeah. Just see, go meet with staff and and resolve. So anyway, so thank you very much for being with us all this night, waiting for your application. So wish you a good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so for members and staff, I think we were done with the hearing applications. So any new business or unfinished business from members as well as staff? Michael?
I don't know whether it's through you, Mr. Chair, it's appropriate to do this live, or maybe we can talk about this. It's sort of like a committee issue that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, okay.
Does it have to go to the public, or?
Then you can say no business, and then we can discuss it later on. If it's
Okay,
not
no business.
Yeah. Anybody, any business? So no business. So may I have a mover for adjournment of the meeting, tonight's meeting? I need a mover. Julian. So the meeting has been adjourned.